Prophesize your day. 3 miraculous morning prayers for divine peace and supernatural protection. Isabella rose awoke, as she did every morning, with the weight of the world pressing upon her heart. The air was still, the village of Ashford wrapped in a soft, early morning haze. Yet inside her modest home, the shadows loomed large. Her son Ethan lay sick in his narrow bed, his breathing shallow and labored. Financial worries gnawed at her, and doubts about her faith danced mockingly in the shadows. It was a struggle she couldn't seem to shake. But that day, something drew her to the corner of the room. As she knelt down to pray, her fingers brushed against something forgotten, a dusty old prayer book, tucked beneath a tattered blanket. It felt like an ancient relic, worn by time, yet alive with potential. Isabella opened it, her heart racing as words spilled onto the yellowed pages, detailing 3 miraculous morning prayers, each promising divine peace and supernatural protection. Her pulse quickened. Could these be the words she longed for? With hesitant breath, she began to recite the first prayer. The room seemed to shimmer, an inexplicable warmth swirling around her, banishing the cold despair that had long taken residence within her heart. The moment felt divine, a soft whisper from the heavens. Encouraged, she uttered the second prayer, a rush of hope flooding her spirit. God of miracles, grant me strength, she cried, voice trembling. Light seemed to seep through the windows, illuminating the small space as if angels themselves were gathering around, assuring her that she was not alone. In the days that followed, her commitment to these prayers wove a connection between her and the small congregation at the local church. Each Thursday, they came together with fervent hope, lifting their voices in unison. With every utterance of shared devotion, a palpable change began to ripple through the atmosphere, drawing warmth to hearts once hardened. One fateful evening, as they prayed for Ethan's health, Isabella felt a surge of clarity. A prophetic word burst forth: healing is on the horizon. Whispers spread through the church. But not all were thrilled. Friends who had once stood steadfast by her side scoffed, their eyes dripping with skepticism. Foolishness, they would say, shaking their heads. Despair is all that awaits. Yet, somehow, the promise of her prayers hung in the air like an untouched treasure. Desperate to cling to hope, Isabella confided in her prayer group the few who had not faltered. Their solidarity provided a lifeline, a reminder that in unity there was untapped strength. They joined hands, hearts entwined, supplicating for a miracle. But as despair darkened Ethan's condition, panic enveloped her. Was her faith enough? Would someone answer her cries? Just when the weight of doubt threatened to consume every bit of resolve left in her, an unshakable pull ignited in her soul. The overlooked faith space at the edge of town beckoned her. It promised something sacred, filled with rich history and forgotten prayers. Mustering every ounce of courage, Isabella stepped into its desolate beauty. In that moment, surrounded by the essence of faith long buried, a brilliance erupted. She beheld the extraordinary transformation of her son, an astonishing miracle unfolding before her eyes. Gasps filled the air as the village felt the jolt of an awakening, shifting perspectives, sowing seeds of hope and wonder. Yet, amidst the miraculous, an unresolved tension lingered. The journey of faith was just beginning for Isabella, still fraught with unanswered questions. Would her reviving spirit withstand the rising storms of skepticism? And in the midst of this revival, could they stave off the impending darkness? The flicker of hope blinked brightly, yet uncertainty danced teasingly around its edges. Isabella felt the warmth of newfound faith pulsating around her like waves of light, illuminating not just her heart, but also the shadows clinging to her village. The miracle she had witnessed was only the beginning. Whispers of wonder spread through the streets, and astonished glances followed her wherever she walked. She could sense something stirring in the people's an awakening, a stirring of hope long dormant. As she ventured back home from that sacred space, the sunlight broke through the clouds, showering Ashford in a golden glow. But with the light came a new weight, a daunting responsibility. Could she truly lead the village into faith when her own heart was still fragile? Doubts lingered like fog, creeping back when she least expected. What if this is all just temporary? She pondered, her mind racing with worries. Later that day, Isabella gathered with her prayer group in the cozy warmth of Martha's kitchen. The aroma of fresh bread filled the air, a comforting reminder of shared faith. The small group sat close, hands clasped tightly, eyes closed in earnest supplication. As they began to pray, a sweet peace enveloped them, wrapping around each soul like a soft blanket. Dear Lord, Martha's voice rose with conviction, teach us to trust in your timing. Show us how to face the storms ahead. The sincerity in her words resonated deeply within Isabella. She could feel the power of unity lifting their spirits higher, as if angels were carrying them into the heavens. Just then, the door creaked open, and one of the village skeptics, Thomas, stepped in. There was a momentary hush, the air thick with unspoken tensions. Isabella's heart raced. Could hope really thrive in the face of disbelief? Thomas rubbed his hands together nervously, his brow furrowed in uncertainty. I came to hear what you all are doing, he stammered, the challenge in his voice underlined by a hint of curiosity. Martha glanced at Isabella, who nodded, emboldened by the spirit moving through her. We're praying for Ethan and for all of Ashford, she said, her voice steady. We believe healing is possible. Thomas shifted uncomfortably. But how can you be sure? It seems unrealistic. Sometimes, Isabella replied softly, her heart pounding. Faith is about stepping into the unknown, trusting that something greater is guiding us. It's not about being certain now, it's about believing for what is to come. The room was charged with tension, but the warmth of their prayers began to soften Thomas's countenance. Hope flickered in his eyes as he seemed to wrestle with his doubts. Just then, a loud bang echoed from the street outside, shattering the moment. A young boy rushed in, his face flushed with excitement. Ethan. He.S. awake. He.S. talking. The words landed like a tidal wave, sweeping away the air of skepticism in an instant. Isabella's heart soared with joy. Her prayers, her faith, was it really shifting mountains? The villagers began to gather with gasps of wonder, eyes wide with disbelief, turning to awe. Yet, somewhere in the back of her mind, a whisper persisted this was just the beginning of the journey. They hurried towards her home, where Ethan sat upright in bed, an expression of life that had been absent for far too long. As they entered, Isabella touched her son's hand and felt an electric current surging through her. The unexpected healing had pulled them all back into the light, yet dark clouds still loomed overhead. The room filled with laughter, tears of joy mixing with the wonder of revival. But as Isabella watched everyone celebrate, she felt the gentle nudge of the Holy Spirit urging her to remember. There was still much to reckon with, challenges to face. Could her faith withstand the scrutiny of a town that had known so much despair? As she beheld the faces of her friends and neighbors, hope flickered in the air, but uncertainty lurked at the edges, reminding her that the true test of faith was yet to come. Would the bonds of belief hold strong in the face of doubt? And with victories came new battles. A question lingered on the horizon. What would their next step be as a community on this newly illuminated path? The village now hungered for more than just healing. They craved guidance, wisdom, and a deeper understanding of faith. Who would lead them into the heart of truth? Isabella felt the festive energy ripple through the room, washing over her like a warm tide. Laughter filled the corners, but beneath that joy, her heart beat with a quiet trepidation. As she watched Ethan smile, surrounded by familiar faces, the burden of expectation began to settle around her shoulders. What now? The villagers gathered close, all eager to hear Ethan's words, each one filled with joy, but also questioning. What did you see? Someone asked eagerly, their eyes glistening with excitement. Isabella sensed their collective gaze pressing against her, urging her to provide the answers they sought. Ethan looked around, his eyes a mixture of wonder and confusion. I don't know how to explain it, he began, his voice still weak but resonating with an undeniable strength. It felt like I was floating, embraced by light. I wasn't alone, and there was music. Heavenly music. A collective gasp filled the air. Isabella's heart surged with warmth, for she saw a flicker of belief ignite in the depths of their spirits. Still, an inner whisper nudged her. Could it really be enough to ignite deeper faith? Just as a seed grows in darkness before it blossoms into a flower, she thought, maybe their journeys are only starting. Suddenly, Thomas stepped forward, his expression shifting from skepticism to something more profound. What if this is more than a moment? What if we're called to be more? His voice carried an earnest yearning that caught others off guard. Isabella watched as glimmers of understanding sparked in the group. It was true their healing was miraculous, yet it beckoned them to explore a deeper faith. As if on cue, Martha stepped forward, her brow furrowed with thought. We have witnessed a miracle, but it is important we don't fall prey to complacency. We must seek that light continually. The group nodded in agreement, sharing muted expressions of contemplation. The laughter faded, replaced by an air of solemn recognition. The excitement of a miracle bore a new weight of expectation. What if we come together again tomorrow? Isabella suggested, emboldened by the spirit moving strongly within her. We could pray for direction, for understanding and unity. A fervent sense of agreement filled the small room. They rose, moving closer together as they bowed their heads, hands clasped once more in a circle. Martha led them into prayer, her voice gentle yet steady. Guide us, Lord, as we seek to understand the greater plan. Prepare our hearts to receive what lies ahead. The atmosphere thickened with presence, and a stillness fell among them, inviting silence and reflection. Each heart beat with a rhythm of hope, yet nestled within was the ticking clock of uncertainty. As they opened their eyes, the glow of dusk began to dim the light in the room. Isabella felt a mighty swell of courage within her. Let us commit ourselves each day, she suggested quietly, to learning about faith, to exploring spirituality. We can support one another as we delve deeper into God's truths. The night deepened around them, but a spark had ignited a commitment to seek and journey together. Yet as the prayers ended and the crowd dispersed, she couldn't shake an unsettling thought. Would fulfilling their need for deeper faith be easy? Would they truly stand united amid future trials lurking beyond their horizon? The next morning light would unfold with new revelations, and Isabella sensed that they were just beginning to touch the surface of something sacred. What challenges would arise as they sought to understand this divine calling? Would they find the courage to embrace the path before them? Tomorrow would unveil its secrets, and hopes danced on the wind, inviting them to follow. What was God preparing for Ashford? As dawn broke over Ashford, a soft light spilled through Isabella's window, illuminating the room with a tender glow. She sat up, taking a deep breath, feeling the weight of yesterday's decisions linger in her heart. The world around her was hushed, but within, the stirrings of faith buzzed like the morning songbirds. She glanced outside, where trees swayed gently, whispering promises of a new day filled with possibilities. What would today bring? The day they had committed to seeking God's guidance beckoned like a steadfast promise. A sense of anticipation clung to the air, palpable yet fragile, like the mist that danced above the dewy grass. Isabella dressed quickly, a surge of determination guiding her movements. She felt drawn to the village square, where the villagers would gather again. Surely there would be strength in numbers, and the unity of shared purpose would fortify their resolve. As she stepped outdoors, the brisk morning air filled her lungs, invigorating her spirit. The sun broke over the horizon, casting golden beams that turned the world from gray to warmth. It was as if creation itself was singing praises, echoing the newfound hope blossoming in Ashford. Upon reaching the village square, she found familiar faces already assembling, excitement mingling with trepidation. It was a small gathering, but the energy was palpable. Every expression, every eye seemed to hold a flicker of determination. Tomorrow's commitment had turned into today's faithful gathering, and there was no turning back now. "Good morning, everyone," Isabella called out, her voice carrying a warmth that wrapped around them like a hug. Today, we lean into the light together. Let us lift our hearts in prayer and see where God leads. There was a nod of agreement, and soon they formed a circle once more. Hands clasped, whispers of encouragement filled the air as they prepared to pray. Martha's face glowed with serenity as she led them, her voice steady and melodic. Father, we come before you seeking understanding. Illuminate our hearts today and guide us on this journey together. With each word spoken, the weight of uncertainty began to lift. Tears welled in some eyes, while others smiled gently, reflecting a dawning comprehension of their shared mission. They were not mere spectators of a miracle. They were participants in an unfolding story, each playing a role, no matter how small. Isabella felt a fire kindle within her as they prayed. As the prayer continued, she imagined their dreams lifting higher, seeking God's plan for their community. In moments of silence, she felt the very presence of the divine wrapping around them, weaving their hopes together into a tapestry of faith. When the prayer concluded, a collective sigh escaped their lips, as if a burden had been relinquished. Hope blossomed like flowers reaching toward the sun, bright and vibrant. But beneath that hope, a question lingered in Isabella's mind. Would they truly be prepared for the trials that might test their faith? What obstacles would arise as they ventured deeper into the unknown? As they turned to discuss how to support one another on their journey, a hush fell over the crowd. The wind shifted mysteriously, and a sense of urgency gripped Isabella's heart. She looked toward the distant hills, where shadows danced ominously. Perhaps, she ventured softly, God is asking us to prepare not just for joy, but for challenge. Eyes locked, anticipation hazed their thoughts. While their hearts soared with aspirations, the reality of the unknown loomed ahead. How would they navigate the storms yet to come? Would their faith withstand the trials lurking on the horizon? In this dance of light and shadow, the next revelation awaited. What lessons awaited them, hidden just beyond their grasp? As the wind lightly rustled the leaves, a sense of urgency hung in the air. The villagers exchanged glances, the weight of unspoken fear settling in. Isabella could feel the tension grounding their optimism, and she knew that now was not the time to falter, but to press deeper into faith. Martha, Isabella said, her voice steady, what if we invite the Lord to show us our path forward? And not just for ourselves, but for those we might not even know are struggling? Martha nodded, her brow furrowed as if contemplating a greater devotion. Yes, let us merge our prayers into kingdom requests. We must unite our intentions for peace, strength, and resilience. They could feel the Spirit moving among them, igniting powerful whispers of collective yearning. Let us pray again, Martha suggested, her voice taking on a deeper resonance. This time, let us seek His guidance, not only for our futures, but for those hidden trials that He knows lie before us. As hands joined once more, the circle tightened, forming a bond so strong it transcended fear. Martha's voice rose above the soft sounds of nature, filled with intent. Father, we come to you seeking not only our own hearts, but for those who wander in silence. Most of all, we invite you to reveal your grace in our lives and in our community. A stillness enveloped them as their prayers flowed like streams of pure water, each one mingling and interlacing together. Isabella's heart raced with anticipation. She could no longer see the looming shadows. All that existed were their fervent hopes rising like incense toward the heavens. Suddenly, an unexpected silence took hold of the group. A flicker of divine presence danced among them. Isabella opened her eyes just as a glimmer of light illuminated the sky, piercing through the clouds in a heavenly embrace. What is this? One villager whispered, awe-filled eyes gazing upward. Isabella, too, felt transfixed. The sunlight washed over them like a warm tide, revealing hidden colors of the world around them. She closed her eyes again, feeling the brilliance wrap her in warmth. God is here, she breathed, realizing the deep truth in the moment. He is with us in our joys and fears. We simply have to trust Him to lead us through what lies ahead. Fingers tightened around hands as they leaned into that light. In their heart of hearts, they felt the message resonating powerfully. Every fear, every question was met with divine assurance. But as the light turned to a soft glow, a whisper of doubt crept in again. Yet what if the tests will still come? What if we feel lost in the darkness? In that fragile heartbeat, a voice drifted through the crowd. Eleanor, with her wise, gentle spirit, spoke up. Isabella is right. We must not confuse God's plans with our understanding. He may not reveal every trial today, but he walks with us in each step. Isabella felt comforted by Eleanor's words, yet deeply aware of the path still unknown. Each villager wore expressions of determination, but they still carried an underlying fear of what storms might arise. As they shifted to the discussion of how to nurture their spirits, the shadows on the hills seemed to darken, rendering a stark warning. Would their faith deepen? Would their unity withstand the trials that were surely approaching? Isabella clutched her heart, absorbing the pulsations of divine mystery awaiting them. God's path was a winding road, filled with unexpected junctions. What challenges lay ahead yet unrestricted? What affirmations of his love and guidance awaited their discovery? The light continued to beckon them forward, a promise of something magnificent waiting to be unveiled on the other side of every challenge. Would they be ready to meet it? As the last traces of the heavenly light faded, a thick stillness settled over the villagers. Isabella could feel the palpable air shift, as if what remained was an invitation rather than an ending. Hearts raced, yet there was a gentle pull towards deeper faith. Each villager lingered on the edge of something sacred, and anticipation, filled with promise, and the weight of uncertainty. Do you feel that? Isabella asked softly, glancing around at the faces illuminated by the fading light. They all nodded, a collective affirmation of the stirring in their spirits. It was a reminder that their journey was far from over. It was merely transforming. Perhaps we can turn this moment into something constructive, Martha suggested, her voice cutting through the lingering echo of prayer. Let us share our fears openly, and in doing so, we make them known to God. Isabella thought of the burdens they carried. She gently squeezed Martha's hand, and the group fell into a circle again, this time a circle of vulnerability. With each heart spoken out loud, a weight lifted. From fears about their health to worries for family members, each need became a thread woven into the fabric of collective prayer. Then Eleanor spoke up, her voice steady. Fear does not diminish the divine. It can often reveal where healing is needed. Her wisdom resonated deeply, encouraging the group to relinquish what they had held onto in silence. Isabella looked at each face as the villagers began to share their hearts. There's bravery in vulnerability, she thought. With every shared concern, she felt a cleansing wave wash over them all. Each confession was a doorway open to the light. They began to see cracks in their fears. I worry for our crops, one villager admitted, tears welling in his eyes. The drought has taken so much. God provides. Someone else called out, uplifting their spirits. Hands reached to comfort him, a reminder that they were not alone in their struggles. Isabella found herself lost in the warmth of connection, a web of strength forming between them. What if we take turns lifting each other in prayer? Each day we can focus on one specific concern, one family, one heart, she proposed. A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. They all liked the idea of actively engaging with their faith, becoming not just believers, but also bearers of each other's burdens. Wonderful! Martha clapped her hands together, and encouragement swirled among them. Let us begin tomorrow, naming a need, inviting the Spirit into this journey together. For today, let us bask in His light, filled with hope for what He will do. As the evening approached, stars began to twinkle overhead, a vast expanse of possibility. Each shimmer felt like a promise, an anchor in the uncertainties yet to come. Isabella turned her gaze upward, a profound serenity grasping her heart. The darkness didn't feel so daunting now. Suddenly, a looming silhouette raced across the meadow, a figure approaching fast. Fear surged within the group as they stepped back instinctively. The air thickened with tension. "What is that?" a villager whispered, eyes wide in the gathering dusk. Isabella's heart pounded. Fear nudged at the edges of their unity, drawing them back to doubts unspoken. But what was it that God had not let them see just yet? The shadow grew closer, throwing their anxious whispers into a storm. What was coming? Was it a warning or a seer of the transformation that awaited? Would they trust in the unseen hand guiding them, even now? As the figure neared, a still small voice murmured within Isabella, urging her to embrace whatever arrived next. What awaited them as darkness fell and the figure drew near? The figure drew closer, each step reverberating against the heartbeats of the villagers. Shadows danced eerily in the twilight, creating an atmosphere heavy with a mixture of fear and curiosity. The air became electric, a charged moment filled with possibility. "Stay together," Isabella whispered, sensing the nervousness spread among them. They all shifted, forming a tighter circle, hearts pulsating as one. In that union, a flicker of courage ignited within them. As the figure emerged into the soft glow of the dying day, the villagers gasped. It was a woman, draped in flowing garments that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. Her face was serene, almost illuminated from within. An air of ethereal calm surrounded her, a stark contrast to the tension coiling in the villagers' hearts. "Be not afraid," she spoke, her voice a gentle breeze against their worries. "I come not to bring distress, but hope." The breath of her words hovered in the air, wrapping around them like a warm blanket. Isabella felt an inexplicable peace wash over her. This was not merely a visitor. This was a messenger, a divine presence they had prayed for. Some villagers, hesitant at first, began to inch closer, curiosity piquing their faith. "Who are you?" someone called out, voice shaky, yet filled with longing. "I am sent to guide you through the shadows," she replied, her eyes searching each face. "Your cries have reached the heavens. Each prayer, each worry, has woven a tapestry of faith that has not gone unnoticed." Tears brimmed in Isabella's eyes as the weight of their collective prayer hung heavy in the air. She felt a strange comfort. The fear they had harbored looked small against the power of hope being poured forth. "I bring you a call to action," the woman continued, her voice resonating in their hearts. "Your strength lies in your unity, in turning your fears into prayers. There's a journey ahead, one that invites you to reclaim what has been lost not just in crops or health, but in spirit. Each step you take together will draw forth a miracle." Isabella exchanged glances with the villagers. Hope bloomed as she felt seeds of faith taking root within her. "Will you walk with us?" she asked, her voice steady and full of conviction. "Indeed," the woman replied, her smile radiant. "But know this. Each person has a role to play. Speak your trust into the void, anchor your hearts in prayer, and become vessels of love for one another." The collective energy shifted, igniting their willingness to embrace the unknown. They nodded, affirmation gleaming in their eyes. The woman extended her arms wide, inviting them to step closer, to immerse themselves in the divine light that seemed to pulsate around her. "Together, you'll transform not only your village, but also your hearts. Fear may loom, but faith will reshape what was once broken," she proclaimed. As she spoke, a warm glow radiated from her, enveloping the villagers. The shadows that had previously felt threatening now bowed in reverence to the light. They slowly began to chant, their voices mingling in a rising tide of faith. In that moment, Isabella felt her spirit swell with joy, a connection so profound it felt as if they were woven into a single thread of divine purpose. She could almost see the pathway ahead illuminated with every prayer they shared. Then, just as quickly as she had appeared, the woman stepped back into the shadows, leaving only the echo of her words hanging like a promise in the night air. "What happens now?" someone whispered, eyes wide with anticipation and wonder. Isabella paused, the truth dawning in her heart. "Now we begin anew. Each day will hold a portion of our journey. When we lift each other in prayer, we unearth the miracles meant for us. A sense of calm settled over the villagers, for they now knew the unfolding was just beginning. What would they discover as they ventured into this new dawn of faith? As the stars began to pierce the darkening sky, the villagers held tightly to the memory of the radiant woman who had filled their hearts with such illumination. They gathered beside the flickering fire, its warmth a gentle reminder of the light they felt moments ago. The air hummed with a new reverence, the space between them now charged with a hopeful expectancy. Isabella stood at the front, her voice steady as she addressed the group. Let us reflect on the call she gave us. Today, we cannot ignore our fears, but rather, we must transform them into prayers. Who among us is willing to share their burdens? What must we lay down, that we may rise together? A heartfelt silence cloaked the crowd. One by one, villagers began to speak, their voices quivering but resolute. I fear for my family's health, whispered a woman named Elena, her eyes glistening. The sickness that roams among us has stolen our peace. I worry for our crops, another man chimed in, his face etched with lines of stress. Without the harvest, we face hunger. Every confession was a thread that added to their growing tapestry of vulnerability, a beautiful witness to the strength of their spirits. As they shared their fears, Isabella reminded them, each worry named is a prayer in the making. Together, we lift these heaps of fear unto the heavens. Something stirred within the villagers. As if guided by an unseen hand, they began to chant softly, allowing their voices to commingle into a sacred song. It was a melody born of lamentation and hope, each note rising with the glow of their flames, reaching for something far beyond themselves. Let us pray for healing, for courage, for abundance, Isabella called out, her heart racing as she felt their collective strength swell. Join your hearts with mine. Let us declare that we will be vessels of love and faith. The villagers leaned into each other, hands clenched tightly together. They formed a circle, an unbreakable bond forged in the fires of their shared desires. In the midst of this divine assemblage, Isabella closed her eyes, allowing the words of her heart to lift upwards like arrows into the night. Dear Lord, hear our cries. Heal our pain, restore our land, and fill us with your peace. Let our faith transform the shadows into light, and from our fears, bring forth our miracles. Her voice broke, emotion pouring out in the final plea. There was a vibrational hush that followed, each villager feeling the warmth of their united intention. Tears streaked faces, and hearts ignited with possibility. As their voices blended into one, light began to emanate again, almost like the gentle touch of dawn breaking through the remnants of night. Isabella opened her eyes and gasped in awe as she saw wisps of golden light encircling them, reflecting the hope they had ignited within. Is this? One villager stuttered, glancing around with wide eyes. It's the promise. Another declared with fervor. Our faith is beginning to manifest. In that moment, it became clear their journey had already begun. The air thickened with potential as Isabella and the villagers felt the divine echo of their prayers resonating throughout the night. But before they could fully grasp the magnitude of what was happening, an unexpected breeze swept through their circle, extinguishing the fire and plunging the gathering into darkness. Gasps filled the night air, and panic threatened to ensue. Hold firm, Isabella shouted, heart pounding. Even in darkness, we remain united in faith. Let us speak our trust aloud. In the void that followed, the villagers clung tightly together, desperate for reassurance as they prepared to face whatever might come next. What awaited them in this darkness? Would their faith prove strong enough to keep the light alive? In the heavy silence that enveloped them, a sense of anticipation hung in the air like dew clinging to grass at daybreak. The villagers huddled close, grasping one another, drawing strength from the connections they forged under the stars. Each heartbeat resonated with a gentle rhythm of devotion, the tension transforming into a sacred holding of breaths. Outside their circle, the night felt charged, as if the universe paused, waiting. Isabella, engulfed in darkness, yet illuminated by faith, summoned her resolve. "Let us remember the light within us," she urged, her voice steady and soothing. "The darkness cannot extinguish the light of our unity." As she spoke, something flickered in her heart, a hint of reverence, a whisper of hope that echoed back from the depths of despair. "Breathe," she instructed, leading them in deep, calming inhales. "Breathe in faith, breathe out fear." Her words resonated, and slowly, the villagers began to mirror her, taking deep breaths. With each exhale, they surrendered their worries, allowing the weight to lift, if only momentarily. A flicker barely noticeable pierced the cloak of night. Some villagers caught sight of it, eyes widening as they pointed. "Look!" A boy gasped, his voice mingling with astonishment. "The fire! It's coming back!" Indeed, the dancing embers rekindled, flickering and glowing with a soft light, like the timid dawn daring to break. However, this glow did not come from the fire itself. It was as if the golden light manifested from the villagers' collective faith, wrapping around them like a celestial embrace. Elena, her heart now thumping with renewed vigor, began to sing softly. "Great is thy faithfulness," her melody wove through the gathering, and like threads of silk, others joined in. Soon, the air was filled with voices harmonizing in praise, their song saturating the night with transcendence. Morning by morning, new mercies I see the light grew, illuminating their faces, filling the shadows with warmth. Isabella opened her eyes wider, marveling at the divine transformation taking place. "Together, our faith lights the way," she proclaimed. "In unity, we signify God as presence and power among us." With fervent hearts, hands raised, they sang louder, their voices finding strength in the resonance of others. The shadows around them seemed to recede, every vibrational note pushing back against the darkness, carving out spaces for hope and reassurance. As their anthem rose higher, Isabella felt a strange sensation of presence, not bound by physical form, wrapping around her in a gentle caress. She gasped, feeling an unexplainable peace settle deeply within her soul. "What is this?" she asked aloud, her breath catching. "Lord, show us." Suddenly, the air crackled, a surge of excitement coursing through the crowd as temporary silence reclaimed the night. The golden light coalesced into a radiant figure standing before them, shimmering with love and purity beyond comprehension. Gasps of awe and reverence shattered the silence, emotions flowing freely as they perceived the sacred before them. "Your call has been heard," the figure seemed to say, though no words escaped its lips. The simple truth resonated within each villager as heart. Isabella stepped forward, her pulse racing. "What must we do next? How shall we walk in your light?" But the figure merely lifted a hand, as if inviting them to follow. And just like that, the ground beneath shifted, the air thickened with an unmeasured weight of divine purpose. The villagers' spirits surged, trembling in the presence of such majesty. Would they have the courage to step forward into the unknown? Would their faith lead them to the path of miracles? As they gathered closer together, hearts pounding in shared anticipation, one question lingered in the air. What destiny awaited them beyond that shimmering light? At the heart of Ashford, where hope and uncertainty stirred, the radiant figure beckoned. The air crackled with divine energy, igniting the villagers. Each heartbeat echoed with unwavering belief, a shared promise to embrace the journey ahead. Isabella stepped forward, compelled by an unseen force. "We are ready," she declared, her voice buoyant with faith. "Show us the way. Lead us towards the light." The figure responded, a gentle wave of warmth cascading over the gathered souls. "Trust, and walk together," it seemed to whisper into the depths of their hearts. The collective pulse of the villagers thrummed in unison, intertwining their fears and aspirations. As the figure glimmered, leading them, an ethereal path unfurled before their feet, illuminated by the merging of light and love. Each footfall propelled them forward, filling them with unshakable courage. "Together, we step into this new dawn." Martha's voice rang out, inspiring all around her. They followed, energized, the doubts that had once burdened their hearts falling away like autumn leaves. The path wound through the familiar village, now aglow with possibility. The laughter of children echoed, blessing the air with joy. It was a transformation they had longed for, a shift from shadows of despair into the warmth of revival. "We mustn't forget the healing we've witnessed," Isabella mused, glancing back at the figure now shimmering softly behind them. "It's not just for us. It extends to our neighbors, our fields, our loved ones." "Indeed," Thomas, who once doubted, replied with newfound fervor. "It's a light meant to guide everyone, to awaken faith beyond our walls. Let us share this together." Hope rippled through the assembly, cascading like ripening fruit in the warm sun. The soft glow enveloping them promised miracles ahead. Weary hearts merged in shared purpose. As they journeyed on, the murmurs of prayer filled the air like sweet incense, combining with the song of distant birds. Each voice added strength, each word embroidered the fabric of their community. They were no longer merely survivors of hardship. They became bearers of light, vibrant and alive. Suddenly, they reached a clearing where familiar wooden benches awaited. The elders of Ashford had gathered, drawn by the divine call they could all sense in the air. Their faces radiated warmth and expectancy. Isabella faced the community, her heart pounding with anticipation. "Today, we honor the journey we've shared, the fears we've faced," she began, looking into the faces of friends and neighbors who had once doubted. "Our faith has birthed revival, and it's not just for us, it's meant to spill out into the world." The villagers exchanged glances, igniting conversations filled with testimonies of healing, restoration, and hope. Stories poured forth like rain after a long drought, of crops revived, of families healed, and dreams rekindled. Elena nodded earnestly, standing to amplify the warmth piercing through the air. "We need to engage our spirits, now more than ever. Let us commit to gathering, to lifting one another in prayer more often. This is just the beginning." The energy crackled as hands began to intertwine, a sacred circle of unity forged in faith. They knelt together, a living tapestry of hearts bound in purpose. Isabella felt streamers of light weaving through her, a gentle reminder of the divine presence. "Let us invite God into our burdens, into our aspirations," she urged. "Together, we will navigate whatever trials come, because we are never alone." They rose from their knees, spirits awakened, emboldened by a shared mission that extended well beyond their village. They understood they were adopted vessels of hope, children of the light, destined to shine brightly against the darkness. As dusk fell over Ashford, the sun dipped, casting a radiance of golden hues upon the villagers. They embraced the transformative journey, and in sacred silence, they understood something deeper. The true miracle lay not just in healing but in the unity of hearts joined in faith. They stood together, arms raised to the heavens, voices lifted in praise, unwavering in conviction. Their shared laughter bubbled over, echoing hope throughout the village, a calling reverberating into infinity. This was not merely a conclusion, but a pivotal moment, their rebirth into purposeful living. Every step forward felt like a march towards their divine purpose. They were ready to face what awaited beyond the light, strengthened by the knowledge that their faith had blossomed into action. Without hesitation, they took their first steps. Each stride propelled them into the future, where miracles would continue to unfurl, faith would continue to deepen, and love would always lead the way. As they walked into the embrace of the night sky, an unmistakable truth settled upon them. Their stories would intertwine with the stories of all those who had ever walked in faith, eternal reflections of divine love and courage. And so, dear friends, their journey was not just a tale woven into the fabric of Ashford, but part of a greater narrative, an unfolding testament to the power of faith, community, and love that eternally prevails. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe to the channel immediately to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this powerful message. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this ending. Let your voices be heard. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope. Let us live our faith boldly together.